Welcome to Castlevania Lords of Shadow The Complete Story. Now before we go into this, you're gonna have to remember that the Lords of Shadow timeline is a reboot off of the main series. This means that everything we know and love was tossed out the window in favor of a new direction, which currently includes 3 games. Did you enjoy this reboot? Personally, I liked the story, but the gameplay kinda felt like it was a ripoff of Devil May Cry. So let's get you caught up for the next part of this epic journey. The Lords of Shadow reboot series currently contains 3 games: Lords of Shadow, Mirrors of Fate, and the newly released Lords of Shadow 2. Our story follows Gabriel Belmont, a member of the Brotherhood of Light, an elite group of holy knights who protected and defended the innocent from supernatural forces. As an orphan, he was raised within the Brotherhood and given the name of the Archangel Gabriel. There was something odd about him though. He seemed to have moments in which he could be found in a dark mood, and only his childhood sweetheart Marie could pacify him. The two of them were made for each other, and within a short amount of time, they were married. In 1046, Gabriel was sent to capture a dangerous creature known as the Daemon Lord. It didn't go very well for him though, as he found himself injured, and it would take the use of his own blood and a magical device to seal the creature away. During the time of this mission, Marie gave birth to their son, Trevor. But she had an odd feeling about Gabriel, and she decided to hide the child away with the Brotherhood to be raised by them. Some time passes, and sadly Marie is killed now that the world is infested with demons and monsters. It was then discovered that the heavens had been cut off from the earthly planes, basically making it so that no spirits could go to heaven, and this led the average person to believe that God had abandoned them. But the Brotherhood knew that something more sinister was at work here, and decided to send Gabriel off to speak with his dead wife Marie to see if the dead knew of any means of saving this world. Taking up the combat cross, Gabriel set off on his journey. The first thing he did was meet with the old god Pan, who allowed Gabriel to see and communicate with Marie. It was through this communication that he learns of the God Mask, which supposedly can fix the bridge to heaven and allow him to raise the dead. Could Gabriel in fact save his beloved Marie? It was shortly after meeting with Pan that he ran into Zodical, who informed Gabriel that he would need to defeat the Lords of Shadow in order to collect the pieces of the God Mask. Gabriel set off to stop the Lords of Shadow with that news, and eventually he ran into Claudia and her guardian, the Black Knight. While they did set off together, they didn't get very far, because on the first night, Gabriel dreamt that he had stabbed Claudia, and when he awoke, he discovered that this wasn't a dream and he had in fact killed her. The Black Knight was enraged and challenged Gabriel to combat, but he ended up losing to Gabriel, and Gabriel took his magical gauntlet. Setting forth with the gauntlet, Gabriel eventually ran into the first of the Lords of Shadow, Cornell. Gabriel learns just where the Lords of Shadow came from. It all begins with the 3 individuals who founded the Brotherhood of Light. They were the leaders of God's army. For their work, they were rewarded with the bodies of divine beings whose power was only second to God himself. But in order to become these beings, they would have to discard all of the chaotic elements within themselves. The discarded remains became the Lords of Shadows. This would create a poetic irony, as the Lords of Shadows are the ones who in turn created the creatures who are ravaging the world right now. Since the state of this world is due to the Brotherhood of Light being created, Gabriel begins to lose faith in his beliefs. He begins to journey further, contemplating the fact that he's working up to clean up the mess of his own Brotherhood, when he comes to Carmilla, the Queen of the Vampires and the second Lord of the Shadow. She indicates that Gabriel will eventually be joining her ranks, but she is quickly dispatched and Gabriel gains her power before moving on. Gabriel's next stop would be the Land of the Dead. But in order to enter the Land of the Dead, Gabriel would need to kill a god. Pan, feeling that Gabriel had been trained enough to move forward, sacrificed himself to allow Gabriel to complete his journey. Sadly though, upon moving forward, Gabriel would also learn that it was in fact Zodical who was the 3rd and final Lord of the Shadow. It is finally revealed that Zodical has arranged everything leading up to this point. He wore the devil mask, forcing Gabriel to kill Marie himself so that he would become focused on revenge and thus become blind to the truth. He would also be the one who forced Gabriel to kill Claudia so that he could get the Black Knight to fight him so that he could earn the Black Gauntlet, so that he would then in turn have the power to defeat the other lords. You see, Zodical couldn't stand the other lords as each of them held a piece of the God Mask, but they refused to use the power within their own pieces. Now that Gabriel had defeated the Lords and collected their god mask pieces, Zobek began to kill Gabriel through electrocution. But in a shocking turn, Zobek bursts into flames and Satan himself appears. Satan reveals that it is in fact him who was pulling Zobek's strings, and through that it was in fact him who was in charge of everything. He also reveals that he is the one who sealed off the road to heaven, keeping all of the deceased souls here. Satan offers Gabriel a place at his side, only to have it refused by Gabriel, who says that Satan's lust for power is what caused his fall to begin with. Furious, Satan puts on the god mask and their final fight begins. Upon defeating Satan, Gabriel recites the ancient ritual to send Satan back to hell. Then, in one final meeting with Marie, Gabriel learns that while the god mask can reopen the bridge to heaven, it cannot in fact raise the dead. Bidding him farewell, Marie takes the god mask from Gabriel and finally passes on to heaven. It is here that we leave Gabriel, a broken hero as he weeps for his beloved. It was soon after these events that Gabriel would be summoned by a woman named Laura to Bernhard Castle. Laura was the second in command to the Queen of the Vampires, and she was in fact a vampire herself. It is here that he learned that he had in fact unleashed a new menace known as the Forgotten One by defeating the Lords of the Shadows. Laura and Gabriel set off to find the entrance to the Forgotten One's chamber, but it is there that they learn that only dark beings can enter. Laura asks Gabriel to drink her blood, ending her own torment and allowing himself to enter. Without seeing much other option, Gabriel drinks the blood of a vampire, and therefore began his life as a creature of the night. Now a vampire himself, he steps into the realm of the Forgotten One. In order to go deep enough to fight the Forgotten One, though, Gabriel would have to do many acts to prove his internal darkness. He would renounce his humanity, he would show his hunger for violence, and he would show a sign of growing insanity. This would bring him into a fight with the Forgotten One, but the Forgotten One would flee, forcing Gabriel to go even deeper into this world of darkness. Here, Gabriel would claim that he is darker and more terrible than the Forgotten One, and that the Forgotten One would beg him for mercy in the end. At the end of the journey, both the Forgotten One and Gabriel would be standing in front of the portal that housed the Forgotten One's true dark powers. Someone would have to take them, and if the Forgotten One took them, there would be death and destruction the world over. So Gabriel forced the Forgotten One into submission, forcing him to beg for mercy. And while begging for mercy, Gabriel would take the Forgotten One's dark power and use it to completely destroy the being. Now, a darkness-filled vampire, Gabriel shattered his combat cross here in the dark dimension and began his walk out. Much time would pass before we would hear from him again, but when he returned, he would go by a new name, Dracul. Want to find out what happened next? Well, I feel it's time for Gabriel's son to step up, don't you? Follow our channel, our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Google+, and you'll find out the moment we bring you the Mirror of Fate storyline. And don't forget to sub to our channel for our Castlevania Let's Play and some quick cut comedies. Oh, we're probably going to stream some of the Castlevania Lord of Shadows 2 games, so go on over to our Twitch. We'll see you there.